As I picked up speed, and the Reaper grew ever closer to my location, I started preparing myself for an attack. With his shields down, it was possible that I could slow him down, enough to keep him from crossing the line. Target his tires, or perhaps the driver. He's behind heavy armor, but without that energy shield, my blades might be able to reach it, bring the Reaper's run to a close. Or at least I thought, before out of nowhere, suddenly the Reaper began slowing down dramatically. No longer moving at rocket pace, he began slowing. And ever the more slower he got, the closer that the crowd of cars behind us got. What is he doing? Why is he slowing down? He needs to get across the line if he wants his weapons. No, I thought. He read me. Not only did he read me, he came up with a countermeasure. Dang it! This is not good. He saw that I was trying to lure him into a one-on-one fight before he crossed the line and got access to his weaponry. So he thought fast and came up with a countermeasure. Rather than trying to cross the line fast enough, he's opted to slow down altogether, increase the amount of time it takes him to cross the line. But in exchange for that trade-off, he can use that crowd of cars to his advantage, try to get himself lost in it, use his maneuverability and speed to make all those other cars living shields. The dust storm will hide him, and as long as he starts keeping pace with them, then all he has to do is wait until he crosses the line along with them, and then we're back to square one. It won't be a one-on-one fight anymore. All of the cars around will be living shields. The only thing working to my advantage is that they won't want to take me out. They know if they do that, they take my place on the Reaper's list. But there'll still be obstacles. And once they cross the line, the Reaper has no problem taking them out, even if they won't take me out. Heck, even if they try to take him out, with the weaponry and defenses at his disposal, once he crosses the line, he'll be next to untouchable. The only one who probably has a plan for dealing with it at all is me. Clever bastard. Fine then. Game on. I pulled off the throttle and started applying some brake pressure, slowing myself dramatically, beginning to slow right along with the Reaper. As that typhoon, that tsunami of dust and metal headed our direction, of course the Reaper was the first to enter the cloud, moving between a few cars. They had no problem passing him up. Hey Doc, I'm gonna need a little assistance here. I need you to route the GPS signal from the Reaper. Do you have something that can add his GPS signal into my display? I need to make sure that I don't lose him in that cloud of metal and dust. If I lose track of him, my advantage disappears. The last thing I need is for him to pop out of nowhere and take me out. Well, it can be done, but it's going to take a second. So try not to lose track of him. Otherwise, it could quite literally be your head. Sure thing, Doc. Just get it done. As fast as possible. This guy is smarter than I would have given him credit for. Finally, I joined the Reaper in the dust storm, seeing the other cars catch up to us, moving around us. It started becoming hard to see in the dust, but I did everything possible to keep my eyes on the Angel of Death. For the moment being, he was swerving between cars, changing his position, weaving in and out, and moving forwards and backwards, in between different drivers, trying to put space between us, as I did my best to close in on him. But all in all, it wasn't looking good. These cars may have been slower than me, but that doesn't mean that the 10-mile mark is moved. Even though we've slowed up, these guys are starting to gain on it, and fast. I don't have much time. If I'm gonna take a preemptive strike, it has to be soon. I thought to myself, swerving to the right, towards the Reaper who had moved in between two other cars. One of them was a very large Jeep. Yeah, that'll do it. Titan, I'm gonna be relinquishing control to you. You're gonna need to work with me on this. I'm gonna go for a little trip. See if I can get some assistance in this matter. You move around from the other side. See if you can close in on him. And if you can, take him out, I said as I swerved towards the Jeep, pulling my blade out of Titan's frame. Gripping into the handle and pulling the trigger, the blades began to spin rapidly, giving off that high-pitched whine. And just like that, I jumped off of Titan, leaping to the Jeep beside me, right onto the driver's side door, slamming my chainsaw sword into it. The feeling of the blade sawing its way through the steel was a bit jarring while I was hanging on to the side of the vehicle, but it only took a moment for it to punch through, and right where I wanted it, the blade slid through into the driver's seat, right in front of him. At this point, the driver had a whirling chainsaw blade, spitting bits of hot steel and sparks, no more than an inch in front of his face. The car had some openings in it, gaps, so he could probably hear me, which was good. This would be useless if he couldn't. "Hey, dum-dum," I shouted as loud as I could over the roar of engines and the sound of my blade sawing into the steel. "I'm giving you a short-term test. Let's call it an IQ test. I need you to ram the Reaper. And if you're scared of what he might do to you, why don't you go ahead and weigh this option? Have this blade chop your head off right here and now, or take your chances that the Reaper will be angry later. Your move," I shouted, gripping the trigger tightly. That whining sound, the sound of sawing steel, sparks flying as I moved the blade just a little bit closer. The guy grit his teeth, looking terrified. Fine, I'll do it," he shouted. "Well, no time like the present," I said, moving the blade a bit farther away from him. The heavy armor on this vehicle gave me some pretty good foot and hand holds, which was definitely good, because this was about to get bumpy. Following my orders, this guy swerved his wheel and started ramming into the Reaper. The jolt of the vehicle shaking nearly shook me off for a moment. Luckily, I had the blade firmly placed inside. A good grip. I wasn't gonna fall off all that easy. But I was still on the opposite side. It was no good. But I could fix that. Rubbing up the blade in my hand and sawing out a nice-sized groove, I managed to tear a sizable hole through the armor where the driver's cab is. I reached into a pouch that I had on my back, pulling out a small circular object, and after jamming the blade into a different position to keep a handhold, I shoved it inside, dropping it into his lap, as suddenly the little ball sprouted legs and gripped tightly to the chest latch seatbelt, holding him firmly to the seat. "That little friend of mine is gonna make sure you cooperate. You question me or do anything I don't like, my little friend there is gonna blow sky high and take you with him. So do yourself a favor and don't be stupid," I said as I hopped on board, climbing to the roof, pulling the blade out, grasping it tightly in my hand. At this point, I could see Titan had swerved around to the other side. She was beginning to close in on his left side, on his other side. "Okay, so dum-dum, what you're gonna do is keep ramming him. And remember, do anything stupid, you blow up," I said, as he swerved again, heading back for the Angel. I jumped off of the roof, slamming the top of my blade into the roof of the Angel. And just like that, I had hitched a new ride on the Angel of Death. "Jax," Emily shouted, coming back across the line, the 10-mile mark. In 5, 4, damn it, no time. With everything I had, I tried to force the blade into that central location where I knew the driver would be. As the blade grinded into the steel, the driver started to try to swerve the car, shake me off. But the blade was giving me a good anchor, and with Titan to the right, and that helpful assistant of mine in the Jeep to the left, I had him boxed in as I drove the blade deeper and deeper into the armor, grinding my way through. This was way tougher than the other armor. I don't know what this thing's made out of, but it's definitely stronger than steel. And just then, I heard the sound that I had been dreading. A strong pulsation sound. The sound of a dual-core biotech engine starting to pump out far more juice. And the clicking system. And the clicking as weapon systems became active.